Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jason Suchomel, joined once again by my sidekick there, Cole Patterson, back on the Orange Bloods YouTube channel to talk. Cole, what else? More recruiting, man. You and I were talking before we started recording this video. Things are literally moving by the hour. I mean, we're going to record this thing for, 30-ish minutes. And I have a feeling probably next, while we're recording, something will change. Yeah. But, realistically, we probably, obviously, as we count down to signing day, I keep saying the first day of signing day is a week from tomorrow. We'll try to record one of these next Tuesday. It's going to be crazy hectic. Maybe we'll even try to knock another one out before then, since things are moving so quickly. So if you guys are enjoying these videos, please subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things for notifications, do all those things that help us and help you get notified when we do these recruiting videos. And we'll try to do them more regularly, even after signing day. You got signing day 2 and February, then you'll have junior days, and then it's spring evaluations. It never ends.
Something going on.
It is, man. I was talking to someone about that today. I was talking to Anwar Richardson about it, about scheduling vacation for next year already. I said, it's damn near impossible, I feel like, because no matter when I schedule a vacation, I feel guilty because I'm going to miss something. I mean, it's whether it's 7-on-7 or a camp or something. Oh, well, such is life.
Oh, you got something portal, every month. So.
Yeah, my friends always, and we'll get into recruiting in a second. My friends always tell me, Cole, like, God, you're so lucky. You got like the dream job. You get to watch football and you work out of your house and you can have a couple of beers if you want while you're watching football. I said, it is. And listen, I love my job, but it's still a job. And it's
big grind.
It is. It's basically 365 days a year. And I always compare it to, it's not as important as this job, of course. I always say it's like being a doctor on call because I've been in places, I mean, you wouldn't believe. And I'm like, oh, crap, I've got to leave and go to work. Sorry, guys. Or sorry, friend's wedding. I've got to duck out for 20 minutes.
Right. You always have to be scrolling through Twitter, having your notifications. Yeah, dude. So you never, because even we were saying last week, we thought, or I guess that was 2 weeks ago, we thought Thanksgiving was going to be something.
Yes.
We had a decommitment. We had a commitment.
That day, sometimes you can be somewhat prepared for those things, but you've got to always be on call. But hey, that's why I love having Cole with me for this journey. So when I'm, God forbid, if I'm not around, maybe Cole is. But so a lot going on, Cole. I came into this podcast, or I keep saying podcast, this video, with the intent of, hey, let's talk about offensive linemen because there's so much going on. That's what the focus seems to be on with the fan base a lot. But, I want to tackle this a little differently. I did my recruiting board yesterday, and I'm looking at it on my other screen over here. Or not yesterday, I'm sorry, late last week. And what that is for people who aren't on Orange Bloods, and if you're not, I encourage you to sign up for Orange Bloods, give it a look. I go through each position, and I talk about all the players that are committed and on the radar. And I say, okay, here's who's committed, here's who's on the radar, and here's what I think Texas's chances are based on a 1 through 100% chance. And I kind of do it in this way. I say, okay, it's Texas versus the field. So if I say it's 50-50, don't think, okay, there's 6 schools. Let me do the math in my head. It's just, hey, it's a 50-50 chance he's going to wind up at Texas versus all these other schools. Okay. So I want to go through the recruiting board position by position, and we'll do it pretty quickly, but I'm going to tell you what I had them at last week. Okay. These percentages, I want to hear what you have them at today, because some of those will have changed. And then I'll tell you if I have an updated percentage on mine. And we'll start at quarterback. The only quarterback I have on the board is Maalik Murphy. Of course, he's the commitment for Texas out of California. I had Devin Brown on there last week. When I started to tell you how quickly things are moving, I started building my recruiting board. I had Devin Brown on there, the quarterback from Utah. In between the time I started building it and the time I published it that night, he ends up committing to Ohio State. So Devin Brown's off the board, but yeah, exactly. So I've got Maalik Murphy on the board, Texas commitment. Not much to say there other than Maalik is playing for a state championship this weekend. So kudos to Maalik and his Gardena Sarah teammates. And Texas did do an in-home visit last night with Maalik Murphy. Steve Sarkisian was there. AJ Milwee, the quarterback's coach, was there. There's a whole lot going on with Quinn Ewers. That's a whole other video. And I did an hour with Anwar yesterday on Quinn, so I don't want to get in too much into the Quinn Ewers discussion. But Maalik Murphy.
It'll probably change by the time
and it probably will change by the time this is published. You're right, exactly right. So not a lot to say about Maalik Murphy, but he's committed. So you're just 10-second thoughts on Maalik Murphy, if you could.
Yeah, it's probably that and offensive line, two most important positions. He's a winner, obviously. So I think it's key to lock him up. He's a guy that's close to the rest of the recruiting class. So he's an important member to what Texas is building.
Yeah, especially with Devin Brown off the board. I mean, Maalik's going to enroll in January, and he's coming in confident, man. He's not coming in saying, "Hey, I'm going to ride the bench and bide my time." He's coming in wanting to compete right away. We switched to running backs. I have the need for running backs. I always put however many I think the need is. I had it at 2. And we'll start with the first one, Jaden Blue, Texas commitment, another early enrollee. Of course, Jaden opted out of his senior year, but he will be in Texas in January. There was a time a couple months ago that he wavered a little bit, but things have tightened up there. So I think Texas is good there. Quick thoughts on Jaden Blue.
Yeah, like you said, there was some, worry at one point in time, but he seems pretty locked in now. He's tweeting a lot of things on social media, just encouraging other people to join, the Longhorns. And I think it helps. He's the only running back in this class at the moment. He's, like you said, he opted out, but before he opted out, he had a really good high school career down in the Houston area. I think he's a prototypical, SEC back as, they move to that conference. So he's a huge addition.
And at one time before he opted out, rivals dropped him in the rankings, which I kind of get. I mean, there's two arguments on both sides of that. He was the number one running back in the country before he opted out. So, I mean, he's a tremendous talent, but the people kind of forgotten about a little bit. Jamarian Miller decommitted from Texas and committed to Alabama on Thanksgiving Day. That's one of the ones you mentioned. The only other back I have on the board is recent offer from Euless Trinity, Ollie Gordon. I talked to Ollie last week. He said, nah, probably not going to visit Texas. I'm pretty locked in with Oklahoma State. He's been committed there a long time. I went ahead and put him on the board. Normally, if a guy's committed elsewhere and Texas offers him, there's a whole different section for that. I went ahead and put Ollie Gordon on the board just in case things changed. I put him at 25%. I've got him pretty low. Curious what your percentage would be on Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. He's tremendous running back. But yeah, to what he told you, he's pretty locked in with Oklahoma State. He's planning on signing early. It's as we record. I guess that's next week. We from what Thursday,
tomorrow, Wednesday. Week from Wednesday.
So if he doesn't visit this weekend, and you can pretty much shut that thing down. So I might move that down to 10%, maybe not put it at 0 because there's always that slight chance something happens, staff change or whatever. But he's pretty locked in right now with Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I had him at 25 last week. I'd probably bump it down a little bit to 20. I wouldn't quite go 10 just because when I talked to him, it wasn't like, nope, I'm 100% going to Oklahoma State. It was like, yeah, I'm probably, I'm going to stick with Oklahoma State. I don't think I'm going to visit. I did text him before we started talking and hit him up and said, Ollie, just following up. Any
update?
Yeah, I may have one while we're talking here, but I was like, any update? Just wanted to follow up, see if you have any plans for this weekend if you're staying home again. So let's move over to wide receiver. I have Texas's needs at 2 or 3. Obviously, big one coming off the board there, Evan Stewart to Texas A&M. Brennan Thompson from Spearman is the only commitment Texas has. He'll be in town this weekend. And one thing I didn't mention, Texas is they're trying to get as many of their committed guys on campus this weekend on Saturday. So Brennan is one that will for sure be there. He's pretty well locked in, but just 5-second thoughts on Brennan Thompson, if you could.
Yeah, he's, one of the fastest guys in the state. He's actually going to run track, in the spring. So he won't be an early enrollee, but he's an electric player. See, that's a priority for Sarkisian and company. He's a guy that A&M, Oklahoma State, he had Clemson offers. He's top 100 player. He's a huge addition. And like you said, it's a need. Wide receiver's a need, and one of the top guys in all of Texas.
Yeah, big head-to-head win over A&M that Texas really needed there. So going down the list of uncommitted guys, another new offer, Savion Red, the wide receiver out of Grand Prairie. He's going to be visiting Texas this week on an official visit that I was told starts on Thursday. It's kind of weird, Thursday through Saturday. I don't really know the reasoning there. But I had him at 50%, Cole, and it's kind of a cop-out guess because I can't really get a hold of Savion to get much information from him. I talked to his 7-on-7 coach who confirmed the visit and some other things. But I have 50% just because I don't really know where else to put it. But
Yeah.
I don't know who else would be the big threat there. So I feel like maybe I'm undershooting that one if Texas pushes for his commitment, but curious where maybe you'd have that one as percentage wise.
Yeah, he's a guy that they offered, I guess, a couple hours before Evan Stewart committed to A&M. So there may have been some foreshadowing there. But if they're bringing him in for an official visit, that's pretty telling sign, I think. Right before signing day, they need another wide receiver. I would bump that up probably around 60, 70% because of, like you said, who's the other guy. Obviously, if you get a particular quarterback, maybe that changes things. But right now, there's not a whole lot of competition for that second, third receiver in this class. Yeah,
I kind of agree. I'd probably bump my 50% up. I think I was a little too conservative last week. And we'll see how the official visit goes this weekend. I've got two more on the board, and I've got them both pretty low, and they're both out-of-state guys, and we'll just tie these guys in together. I've got Shaz Preston out of Louisiana at 30%. I've got Kevin Coleman out of St. Louis at 25%. Coleman keeps saying he's going to take a visit to Texas. Hasn't happened. I don't even know how much Texas is pushing there, which is kind of weird considering he's a five-star player. But Shaz Preston has visited. I think you talked to Shaz a little bit ago, but I've got Shaz at 30, Kevin Coleman at 25%. Kind of your thoughts on those two?
Yeah, I talked to Shaz. I guess that was back in October. He seemed pretty interested in Texas. He told Orange Bloods that he wanted to make it back for a game. Didn't think that ever happened. He never made it back to Austin. Yeah. I always have been saying LSU is going to be hard to beat, but looks like Alabama might be emerging as, the primary competition for LSU, if not the favorites. I would probably, take him off the board as far as being a realistic option right now, which sucks because, he took an official to Texas over the summer. There's some real interest there. I
think Texas did an in-home with him last week, I believe. So
it might not be completely dead, but if he's an early signee, it looks like it's trending elsewhere. And then Coleman, it's kind of an interesting recruitment, see him linked to like Florida State and a couple of other programs, but he's taken that official to Texas. He hasn't really been down here, hasn't been a topic of discussion, which, like you said, it's kind of interesting considering how big of a need that is for the
And he doesn't, Coleman stays to himself, so he's not one that really markets himself. So he doesn't draw a lot of discussion. But with Shaz, I'm with you. I think probably Alabama. LSU with their coaching change, you don't know how that might impact things, but I think Texas still remains a long shot. Tight ends, I'm going to blow through this one pretty quickly. I had Arliss Boardingham as the only tight end offer on there. He did visit Texas over the summer, took an official visit. It's been so quiet. I actually messaged Arliss over the weekend and I said, hey, are you expecting to do an in-home with Texas at any point? And he said, no, I'm not expecting that. So I think we can take Arliss off the board, which tells me, barring anything totally unforeseen, they're not going to take a tight end. So now let's get to the offensive lineman. And this is, a lot of people might have just wanted to fast forward to this point because there's a lot to talk about here. So I'm going to package Cole Hudson and Connor Robertson together. They're the two committed guys. Connor's playing this weekend, so he won't be on campus on Saturday. Cole has told me he will be there Saturday for Texas's kind of a class of 22 get together, if you will. Mm-hmm. Listen, I talked to both those guys a few times and they're both 100% locked in my estimation. Kind of your thought
there.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Cole said, every time I get a chance to see him, he's all Longhorn. Connor's right in the backyard. Like when we were there in the summer, they're the two guys recruiting everybody else. So
right.
Kind of the ringleaders with Derek Brown. So,
and it doesn't hurt knowing that they're going to have that NIL money waiting on them as soon as they get to campus.
So if there is a slight chance of them looking elsewhere, I think that probably discouraged them.
I don't remember, for those who are watching who aren't aware, there was a name, image, likeness program that was released this week that's going to pay all the Texas offensive linemen, scholarship offensive linemen, starting next fall, $50,000 a piece. So that means if you come in and never play a snap, dude, you get $50,000. I'm like, I was like, hey, how bad does Rafidi Girmay feel? Because he transferred last week. I'm like, dude, if you'd have hung on for another week, stuck around and got.
Jordan Whittington say that he needs to take snaps at tackle now.
Exactly, dude. Yeah, how many snaps do I have to take? Like, no, I'm not a tight end, man. I'm a jumbo tackle out here. So like, what classifies me as a tight end technically. But so let's go down the list of some of these other guys. And, I'm going to start with one that I don't have on the recruiting board because I have him under the section. Well, I said there's a section that says offered but committed elsewhere. And that's Kelvin Banks, because when I posted this last week, he was committed to Oregon. The 5-star tackle, obviously decommitted from Oregon yesterday. Kind of had a feeling that was coming with Mario Cristobal leaving. I don't have a percentage on Kelvin Banks. If I did right now, I would probably – I put my future cast in for Kelvin as soon as he decommitted from Oregon. I've got him at 60% probably right now, but there are a lot of moving parts even today with the Kelvin Banks situation. Go ahead and give me what you think about Kelvin Banks, and I'll kind of talk about what I've heard today.
Yeah, you've been on top of the Kelvin Banks stuff for a while now. If you're a member of Orange Bloods, you've had a lot of information a couple weeks back. Just saying there's a possibility, and then of him opening his recruitment back up, and then obviously with Cristobal off to Miami, that kind of made him decommit, gave him a reason to open his recruitment back up. And Texas does seem like the logical option. They were a big contender before he initially committed to Oregon back in July. And then, like you said, the NIL deal, I don't think that it's a coincidence that was announced so, close to signing day when they're in the mix for all these guys. So I think Texas is in a great spot with Kelvin Banks. Obviously, you have a lot of the intel on that. I would say probably around 60%. I think Texas is the favorite, but it's not a done deal yet. Yeah,
not a done deal at all. Texas is going in home on Friday. I was messaging a family member of his. I said, is it going to be Sark, or assistants? They said, hey, we're not sure yet. There's some thought that Kelvin may not sign in that early window. He may wait till February. So if he does that, Sark's probably going to want to save his in-home visit. He only gets one. The head coach gets one. Save it for January or right around National Signing Day 2, first week of February.
The last phase.
Yeah, you always want to be the last one in there. Exactly right. So, I've heard LSU still in play there. I've heard Alabama's trying to make a run there. A&M, I've heard, is kind of fallen off based on a couple of sources I've talked to, but they're still trying to get back in there quite a bit. And Jimbo Fisher still has his in-home. A&M actually did finish second behind Oregon when he committed back, it was like July 4th or right around July 4th weekend. I know, but I think it might have even been July 4th. So A&M's obviously going to be a threat. I still like Texas, but some moving parts there. And if this thing drags on to February, it could change 50 times over. So, yeah, exactly. And Cole will see, he'll see Kelvin Banks and Cam Dewberry and some of these other guys we're going to talk about. The plan is for you to see them tomorrow at the Houston Touchdown Club banquet. So let's go kind of down the list here, and we need to speed up a little bit. But Devon Campbell, Arlington Bowie, I had him at 65% last week. He was supposed to visit USC. Now there's a report out from a USC site that he's not. I've got a little bit of intel on that. I still feel 65% is pretty good for me. I mean, what are your thoughts on Devon Campbell?
Yeah, I talked to Devon last month, and I got a good feeling about Texas. Obviously, he's with Lincoln Riley, going to USC. That kind of opened some things up a little bit. He's always been a fan of, Los Angeles, of the USC program and all of that. If he's not taking that visit, he did tell me back in November that he wants to sign in that early signing period. Maybe not announced until the Under Armour All-American game, but sign in that early signing period. So I think that has to be good news for Texas. I think they've been in the lead for quite a while now. Similar to Banks, it's not a done deal, but I like where Texas stands. I might bump it up to 70, 75, just because I think Texas is the team to beat, and I think he's looking for a reason to go to Texas. And I think that NIL is pretty enticing. I think if he was already looking for that reason, it gives him another thing to look at.
Yeah, man, I might actually bump mine up a tad as well, because USC looks like they'll be out of the mix. He was going to visit USC. Now it looks like Bill Bedenbaugh is going to stay at Oklahoma. I was told that USC is not expecting Devon Campbell, is what I was told today. I don't think they've been officially told he's not visiting. What I was told is the dreaded word, it's fluid. So, but if he doesn't visit USC, I was told there's probably a good chance he'll visit somewhere this weekend. I don't know where that would be. Maybe LSU. I don't know. So we'll keep an eye on that. Next up, I have Maalik Agbo, and I'm going in order of probability. Maalik Agbo from Washington State, the Seattle area. I had Texas at 50%, and I'm probably going to bump that up. But, he was down to 4, Texas, Auburn, Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma was a sneaky player that people weren't talking about, but with the coaching change, what's going to happen there? If Ball stays at Oklahoma, does that change things there? So some moving parts here too. And his 4th one was Miami. So you got Cristobal going to Miami. So again, moving parts.
Yeah.
I think Texas has stability. I read the tea leaves here. He's been on some of these Instagram live sessions with other Texas commitments, drumming up excitement. I kind of like Texas' chances. I'm not like going 70% or anything, but I think I'd have Texas over 50% of landing Maalik Agbo. I guess your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Texas has made clear that they need offensive linemen. They've prioritized a lot of these guys, and I think it's, I don't think Lincoln Riley going to USC hurts Texas at all. I think if anything, it helps them. Kind of, like you said, muddies the water with all these coaching changes. So with Texas having at least a little bit of stability there on that front, that has to be good news. And it looks like the Longhorns are in a good spot, week before signing them.
Yeah. Cam Dewberry I had at 40%. I'll just let you jump in. Kind of your thoughts on where things stand with Cam Dewberry and what percentage you'd have. You'll see Cam tomorrow, so you'll have a better feel tomorrow probably.
Yeah, hopefully I can get some input there, maybe talk to some people down there. I think right now, at least feeling I get, it's probably a 50-50, shot. I think it's them or A&M. I think with OU coaching changes, with Lincoln Riley off, all of that, I think it's a 50-50 shot. It looks like he is probably going to go visit A&M this weekend. At least that's what you're hearing. So if that does happen, that might give A&M a leg up. They've long been considered probably the team to beat in his recruitment. But Texas is making it hard. They are recruiting him really, really well. So I'd probably put that at 50%.
I think you're being a bit ambitious there because I've got him at 40%. If he's going to visit A&M this weekend, which I'm expecting, to me that's a pretty big sign. So I would maybe even lower mine below 40% there. And the only way I think Texas can win with Cam Dewberry is if they get DJ Campbell, if they get Kelvin Banks and Cam's like, I want to be part of that movement. Obviously the NIL money doesn't hurt, but I think what I've heard is, Cam knows he can get NIL money.
Yeah.
He'll probably get some if he goes to A&M too. So, I think Texas needs to really get some momentum there with some commitments, and then maybe he gets caught up in that movement. Otherwise, I think A&M. One guy I skipped over is Nato Umeozulu from Allen. I actually have him at 45%, higher than I have Cam. Bit of a wild card guess on my part. I don't really have a feel for Nato. I know he likes Texas, and I just keep going back to the fact that he told me he wants to study business. Okay, where better to study business than at Texas? Texas has offered his younger brother. Yeah. They could both be in Austin, a few miles down or a few hours down the road. I've got him at 45%. I'm not going to budge on that number because I wouldn't know where to budge up or down. But your thoughts on Nato?
Yeah, like you said, he's a wild card. I went to Allen. I live right around the corner from his high school. I've talked to some of his coaches, just trying to get their feel for him, and they tell me that they really don't know. He's the guy that likes to talk about his recruitment. He's not very active on social media. He's not tweeting a lot of stuff. Him and Devon Campbell do have a pretty good relationship from what I've got gathered from Devon, and even, Connor Robertson, Cole Hudson, they've kind of mentioned that they are pretty close as well. So maybe that does play a factor. But yeah, he's, like you said, it's so hard to predict where he's going to go. I'd probably put it in the same area. I would say USC is probably another team to watch. Similar to Campbell, he visited them over the summer. That's kind of, I talked to an Allen coach, and he said at the beginning that's probably where he would guess he'd go. But like you said, they're doing pretty well with his brother. They're selling business. He gets to stay in state. I'd probably put that. It's very hard to predict, so I'd probably say 40-45%.
Okay, and then one more, Ernest Green's a lineman out of California. Texas did an in-home with him last night. I don't think it really matters. I had Texas at 35%. I'm here. It's going to be Alabama or Georgia.
Yeah.
Ohio State's been up there too. That's pretty stiff competition. I think Texas is running third, maybe fourth. So I'd probably lower that to 20% at best.
Yeah. Sounds like Georgia has been that team to beat, but yeah. So
I think Alabama's making a push too. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're competing against Nick Saban, and all bets are off there. So
Yeah, exactly. So let's flip over to defense. And there's not a lot of uncommitted guys on the defensive side of the ball, which is okay. I'm looking at the clock here and wind down pretty soon. So I'm just going to do defensive line together. I mean, Texas has 7 defensive line commitments. A couple of those guys are classified as edge players, but 7 defensive line commitments. Every one of them, Zach Swanson, Anthony Jones, Jure Bledsoe, Jamon Tapp has kind of firmed up his pledge. Chris Ross is a guy that you'll see tomorrow. Aaron Bryant is a guy, he's enrolling early. He's solid despite interest from elsewhere. Justice Finkley, I think all those guys are solid. So I'm just going to blow through those guys. And there's really only one uncommitted target, and he probably needs to come off the board at this point. Omar Abor from Duncanville. I had him at 20%. Basically, I have him at 20% because once I take him below 20% as a rule of thumb, I take him off the board completely. He probably needs to come off the board completely at this point. But any thoughts of Texas having any chance with Omari there?
Yeah, I've seen Duncanville quite a few times this year, and during the season, even over the summer, there's a chance that Texas is in the race. But talking to people over the weekend that have kind of followed his recruitment, kind of talking to other sources as well, they don't really seem to think Texas is that much of a player. They don't really know. Talking to one source who didn't really know where he would pick Omar to go. Ohio State's doing it in-home. So, yeah, with so many bodies already at the position, it's not really needed at this point. So I'd probably, take him off the board, kind of what you said.
You're not going to turn him away if he knocks on your door and says, hey, I want to come to Texas.
Great player.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's wasted resources almost at this point. Linebacker, Texas had 2 commitments, Derek Brown and Travell Johnson. When I posted this, Kobe McKenzie, I had him at 70%. And listen, I knew he was committing. I talked to his dad and all this stuff. So, at this point, I can't remember if I talked to his dad, but I talked to other people. But I didn't want to put 99% because then that's a dead giveaway, right? I didn't want to ruin the kid's moment. So I had Kobe at 70% trending up. And you can add into the committed list because he did commit Sunday on his way home from his official visit. So that really leaves one what I consider realistic linebacker option that I have left on the board, and it's Harold Perkins, the 5-star. Harold 5, I think is he up to 5-star? He's a high 4. Did he get bumped up? Okay, from I had him at 35%, Cole, and I'm not sure. Harold is another guy that's supposed to be in College Station this weekend.
Yeah.
LSU, as I know, is a school that he's been watching closely. I don't think Texas is certainly the team to beat there. I'd probably keep my percentage around 35% versus the field, but your thoughts on Harold Perkins.
Yeah, here's another guy I was able to go and talk to in November. Talking then, he's kind of a guy that when he talks to the media, he likes to hype every team up, kind of give the positives to everybody, kind of keep people guessing. But yeah, I mean, the kid, he's from Louisiana. He's been influenced by A&M people as well in that Houston area. It seems like those are the 2 teams to watch in that battle. I want to say Texas is completely out of it. He does like Texas. He was there for a couple of games this season, which is a plus. Him and Maalik Murphy have a good relationship. But, yeah, I've always thought that A&M's definitely going to be hard to beat, but I've always kind of thought that LSU might, get the win in the end. But either way, I do think Texas is probably that 3rd team right now.
He kind of feels like Dewberry to me, that if Texas is going to win for him, it's going to have to be riding a wave of momentum that they build with maybe some offensive linemen.
He's a guy that's going to commit on his own. I think if, like you said, they get a couple other guys, get some momentum rolling, it's like, hey, I want to play with them. Sure, but I can't see him picking Texas just on his own.
Yeah, I agree. Defensive backs, I have Texas needing 4 or 5. They have 4 committed in Ronald Lewis, Champ Lewis out of New Orleans, B.J. Allen, the safety out of Aledo, Austin Jordan, Denton Ryan, DB, and Jalen Gilbo, who we've talked about him, was a commit, then decommitted, committed to TCU, decommitted, now he's back with Texas. I know Jalen Gilbo will be in town this weekend, so I think all 4 of those guys, Champ Lewis's team is playing for a state championship, but all 4 of those guys are rock solid. So not going to invest a lot of time in them. I've got a few guys on the DB board, uncommitted guys. So let's go through them pretty quickly. Yeah. And I'll start with the guy that I had the highest percentage on, and it's Larry Turner-Gooden out of California. He's a safety. And I have Texas at 45%. My only, I don't say only, but my biggest concern there is if USC makes a push. If USC makes a push, I was told he'll probably go to USC. If not, it's going to be Texas or Colorado. I don't think USC is planning to bring him in that I've heard. So I might raise that 45% up to, 50 plus. Your thoughts on Larry Turner-Gooden?
Yeah, top 10 player out of California, the position that Texas needs some bodies, need some improvement. So he's obviously a priority target. He's a guy that's been on campus, has taken an official visit. I believe they did it in-home.
They did last night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's some momentum building with Texas there. That's kind of been building all fall. Like you said, if USC offers, maybe that changes things. But I'm with you. I think Texas is in a good spot right now, especially a week away from signing dates. Very, very little could change unless USC does throw that off.
Mm-hmm. And then I've got Kendrick Law, who's kind of an athlete, wide receiver, DB out of Shreveport, Louisiana. He did just visit Texas. He doesn't say much, man, so it's hard to get much of a read. I had been hearing Texas and Alabama were the main two. Now LSU's getting back in the picture there. I have Texas at 40%. I had it as trending up because prior to that, I didn't have them on the board. I don't know if I'd quite go 40% now. I just think between Alabama and LSU, that's going to be a tough win for Texas.
Yeah, it's always hard to pull an LSU or Louisiana kid from LSU. He did visit recently. They probably have a shot, but I would agree. That's pretty stiff competition. And if you're already adding Larry Turner-Gooden, then you're probably feeling good about it.
And Kendrick Law is a high academic kid, so maybe that's the one thing Texas could showcase more so than LSU and Alabama. But, I think that
Justice Finkley.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. Who they beat out. Alabama was one of the teams they beat out for. A guy that I can't believe it's taken us this long to get to him, but Denver Harris. I mean, he would usually be the guy 6 months ago would have been the first guy we would have wanted to talk about. Now we are going position by position, but I've got him at 35%, and there just hasn't been much buzz with Denver and Texas. There's been more A&M buzz, Alabama, of course. Would it shock me if he wound up picking Texas? Not necessarily, just because Denver's kind of playing it tight, close to the vest, but there just hasn't been a lot of Texas chatter, and it just gets less and less and less with each passing week. So I had him at 35% last week. Probably about where I would keep it. Your thoughts on Denver Harris?
Yeah, he's a guy that's been a huge priority for Texas for a while now, that blue chip defensive back from North Shore. He's, like you said, at one point it looked like Texas may have been the favorite at one point in time, but now I can't really get a good read on him personally. I've talked to some people. Some people think A&M could get him, but other people think the A&M might not push for him because of all the other guys they have in their class, which is pretty crazy.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if how hard Alabama's pushing right now, especially if they were to get Kendrick Law. They have a couple of elite guys at the position. I think LSU could be a team to watch there if it's not Texas. With the Brian Kelly hire, he's always been pretty fond of LSU, but he's a guy that I want to compare it strictly to NATO or to Mario Boyer, but kind of one of those guys I wouldn't be shocked if he picks a squad. I'd be okay, I could see that. But
any one of them would not. I would probably rank him a certain way, but if you picked even the one I had ranked the lowest, I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, but he's definitely a guy that Texas fans need to be paying attention to
because
there's a shot that he signs with the Longhorns.
And then the last but not least, kind of least of the DBs, Jacoby Matthews. I have Texas at 20%. I just don't see Texas having a shot there at this point. There was a time when he was really high on Texas, five-star safety.
Some momentum at one point. He was there for the game against OU, then Oklahoma State, and things have soured since then. I think LSU probably gets him back in the boat after that coaching hire.
I do too. A&M had some confidence for a while, but I think LSU. And then not to be forgotten, Texas has commitments from kicker Will Stone and deep snapper Lance St. Louis, who I've still never seen a picture of. I've never talked to that kid. But Will Stone, I talked to quite a bit. He's going to be in Austin this weekend for their recruiting event. So not a lot needs to be said there. Those guys are certainly locked in. I mean, I've never talked to Lance St. Louis, but I'm assuming being a deep snapper, he's locked in. So, and Will Stone certainly is locked in, the place kicker out of Austin. So Cole, as I look at the clock, I am on a bit of a time crunch here. So yeah. I know you could probably stay for a little while longer, but I'm going to, with my reasoning, I'm going to put a bow on this.
Man.
Yeah, man, I've got.
We'll have to do another one. There's a whole lot of time.
Well, exactly. We'll do more as things change, but I've got a kid pickup waiting on me in about 6 minutes as I look at this clock. So I better.
Can't be late for that.
No, I can't be late for that. So again, hey, everybody, this is your Orange Bloods YouTube channel. I'm Jason Suchomel. That's Cole Patterson. Cole's going to be on the road tomorrow. We're excited about that. He's going to go down to Houston. Should be able to get some good updates there. Cole and I will both be, we think, the plan is for both of us to be down on the 40 acres this weekend, get to see some of these committed guys who come in. Who knows, maybe a Kelvin Banks or somebody surprises you and shows up. So we'll have coverage of that as well. If you like these videos, as we said, please subscribe. Please ring the bell for notifications. Check out all the other the Orange Bloods channel's YouTube videos. We got a lot of good stuff from Serenity Douglas interviewing players, and Anwar and Ketchum do all their stuff. So there's a lot to like and a lot to watch here, but we appreciate everybody giving us some of your time watching our recruiting video. We'll be back soon with another one as soon as news warrants, what could be sooner than any of us realize. So we'll talk soon. Everybody take care and have a good week.